Look, here's the thing. The run was so much more than 21.1 kilometers. Like, it was psychologically and physically challenging. I felt like I had to fight both my mind and my body to be able to complete that half marathon. And I know I've been talking about it for a while now, but I really feel like it's something that has really impacted me. Like, it's really impacted my life in an amazing way. And I think we set ourselves goals, right? And I think particularly big goals in particular are really useful in the sense that it can greatly impact how we feel about ourselves and just the amount of self-esteem that we have. Like, I definitely feel like I can do anything now as a result of doing this. Well, let's not say anything, but I feel like my confidence has definitely increased. And so I want you to think about the challenges that you have in your life and how sometimes we choose to run away from them. And then we rob ourselves of the possibility that we could actually do well, that we could actually achieve that goal and actually feel and like be successful. Like, we miss out on that. Like, we run away so many times. And I'm guilty of this. Like, I've done it in the past so many times before, and I don't want you to do that. And if you have been doing that, that's absolutely fine. But now it is enough. Like, now it's the time to move forward and see what it is that we can do to create a life that's like incredibly meaningful and passionate and brilliant. And we just have everything it is that we feel like we need and we want. And so in this video, I'm gonna share with you my journey of doing this half marathon, like how I set myself this goal, how I prepared for it, and how I eventually executed on it as well. And I think it's a really interesting framework because I feel like we can take, what I did, what I felt like I did to achieve this goal. I feel like I can use that framework and apply it to so many different areas of my life. And hopefully you find value in that and think about a challenge that you feel like you're facing at the moment, whether you be running away from it or whether you are unsure whether or not you can do it, and see how you can use this framework to kind of face that goal, face that challenge, face that fear in whatever realm it is, whether it be work, sport, music, family, like whatever facet of your life. See how this framework that I share with you can make an impact and hopefully allow you to achieve that success, or at least see that success in your life is possible. Because that is exactly how I felt when I set myself this goal. And so, speaking of which, when I did set myself this goal, I was in the gym, I was with Sunny, and we were like, the really interesting thing was that both of us were in a really cheeky, positive state of mind. And that's really important. Like, I know, like, I work with a lot of people that like suffer with like mental health, and even within myself, I notice when I try to set myself a goal in a negative state of mind, whether it be like, extreme sadness, depression, anxiety, right? It's like, it's hard to be hopeful. It's hard to feel like you can actually do something great. And so when you're in a positive state of mind, those kind of feelings of like, yes, I can do this, like, yes, it's possible, they're a lot more, like, they come by a lot more easily, if that makes sense. And so there's the kind of frame of mind, the mindset that we set this goal was very positive, was a very positive one, which is why we felt like in the moment we could actually do it. We knew that it was gonna take a lot of work, but we felt like we could actually do it. And on the second part of like preparing now, right? Preparing for this goal was really interesting because before the longest I had ever run was about 9 kilometers, and that was when I was about 16 years old. And so it was very scary. Plus I was like, I think an extra 15, 20 kilos with, like getting older, and then these are excuses like COVID and everything, and as well like being in lockdown and a knee injury for like 4 years. And so initially this mind had a lot of doubt. Like, I was very worried as to whether or not I'll be able to accomplish this given how big the stakes are. And so what I did was I kind of like dropped it down a little bit. Like, try to make it seem like it's not such a big deal. And because it was like X amount of months away, it was like, okay, cool. I have the time to prepare myself in order to be able to do this. And so I'm gonna break it down into smaller chunks first. And so what that meant was that, okay, cool, first, like the best I ran was 9 kilometers when I was 16 years old. Let's forget that. Like, let's leave that to the side. What can I do now? Like, what is it I can do right now in this moment in the same kind of field as my goal? And I was like, I can run 3 kilometers. Like, I can run 3 kilometers quite comfortably. And so like I used that as my goal, and then I slowly increased that. And along the way, I found out the reason why I got my knee injury was because I was very much a heel striker. So basically I don't know why I'm explaining this, but basically the bottom of my heel would hit the ground first, and that would send like a lot of the force up my leg. And so what I had to do is I had to try to retrain the way that I ran and started becoming a toe striker. So I had a little bit more spring in my step, which meant that it was like a whole new way of running, and like my body wasn't used to it. And so I had to make all those adjustments very early on, and ask a lot of people for advice to see what I can do to kind of make this whole like thing a lot easier. And so this was in the frame of preparing my body to run. And what I noticed was that my mind also wasn't ready for it as well, because it didn't think that it could go further than what it had experienced in the past. Meaning, for example, like I think the first, like getting to 9 kilometers was like, okay, because I was like, you know, I've done that before, I can do it again. But moving past it was difficult. Moving past it was like, crap, I don't know if I can. And so I had to slowly increase those increments, and then my mind got convinced and it had faith in myself that I can actually do better than I thought I could. And one of the things that did help me out as well was like having friends run with me. Like, there was something about running with another person that just made the whole experience easier. It was like I'm chatting to them, I'm holding a conversation. It's a lot easier to run whilst that is happening. And plus, when I feel like it was getting a little bit too tough, this person's right beside me, like right next to me. I'm not alone in this. I don't feel like I have to go through this pain, enduring this pain alone. Which is really interesting, because if we take a lens of like mental health through this, very often we can feel like I'm the only one that's feeling like this. I'm the only one that feels lonely. I'm the only one that feels sad. I'm the only one that's like grieving the loss of a loved one. But sharing that pain with someone else and knowing like some people that have gone through the similar experience is like phenomenal. It's like, crap, hang on, we're in this together. Like this lack of loneliness means that there's someone to share this journey with me. And I know it's a bit of like a massive pull out of context, but this is exactly what it felt like. Like it felt like I'm enduring this run on my own, alone. My legs are on fire, right? My joints to some extent hurt, but this person next to me is also feeling the same. And that made it a lot easier. Plus the accountability was fantastic. I used Strava, by the way, to kind of like track my runs, and it was really awesome to see. Like Strava's got this like little area where you can see all the achievements and whether or not like you've beat like your time, or like this is the furthest you run. And so like having those little achievements along the way was almost like celebrating the wins. That like, yeah, you know what, this is what you're doing now. This is what you really this is like increasing my confidence now, which I think is really important in the sense that if you're chasing a goal, like if you're trying to achieve something, like you got to celebrate the little wins along the way. Like let's say you're trying to save, I don't know, $15,000 to buy your first car. You save your first $1,000, great. Like this is awesome. Right? Or like, you know, you save your first 10,000, it's like, yeah, like this is like, you got to celebrate those wins and feel accomplished and like own that achievement. Like, yeah, you're the one that did it. Right? Whether it be like, you know, like how far you go into your relationship and the connection that you have with someone, right? Or like your ability to, you know, do your job extremely well. Like these are metrics that you can like utilize and like be really proud of along the journey to increase your confidence, to feel like you can do more. And so that was the setting and the preparing of the goal. And then ultimately it came down to executing now. Like this is like, it's really interesting because I feel like execution is like game day, right? It's like, it's that job interview, it's that run, it's that moment where like everything that you've prepared for kind of rides on this single thing. It's the ATAR, right? Like it's that last exam, or it's the exam period. That is what it is, right? And it's really interesting how when it came to the execution time, I felt like I had extreme faith within myself that I could do it. The most that I had run before that was 14.7 kilometers. I don't know, I'll check Strava. But like, I think the most I'd ever run was like 14.7 kilometers. But when I rocked up in the morning and everyone else was around me, and I was feeling into myself as to whether or not I could actually do this, I had confidence. Like I had confidence and faith in myself that this can be done and I will do it. It's like sitting an exam. Like it's like those nerves on exam day, right? You rock up, you sit in that hall with everyone else around you, it is dead silent, and those nerves creep up. Like, do you back yourself? Or do you let the nerves take over and then you hit a mind blank and then you can't answer the question that like that in hindsight is actually very easy, right? Like the nerves just kind of get in the way and you can't perform at your best, right? It's so interesting how people can go like either way. And at least I know for me, I felt like I was ready for it. I felt like I was very well prepared. And I think faith can definitely come from two places. It's like one that you've, like your past achievements, like, you know, you've done well in the past, whether it be in your jobs or other jobs or like fitness wise, whatever, right? It's like you've done really well in the past and you can use that as like a crutch. Like, hey, because I've done so well in the past, it means that like, yo, this is nothing new now. Like I know what success is, I know what it's like to work hard, and therefore I can perform. But the other side of it is in the preparation. Like it's, if you know that you've worked hard, you've put in the hours, you put in the effort, you've prepared and you planned, right? If you know that you've done this, then you can take faith from that. Whether or not you had achievements in the past. Like for me, that like my type of faith was that second type. It was like, because I had never run a half marathon before that. Like I wanted the Melbourne half marathon to be the half marathon, my first one for me. I didn't want to do it in training, right? Some people like to do it in training, but then I feel like it would take away from the experience of the actual, like, of actually doing the thing. And so I prepared for it, but like I said, like when it came to that morning and when it came to that run, I knew I could do it. And so I think a really important thing for us to have is clarity. Like know exactly what it is that you are after.
I noticed my mind was like, I only have to run 21.1. And so when I started getting closer to it, it was like giving up because I decided that was the end. And so I was thinking, I was like, what if it was 25? Like, would I have
continued going?
Yeah. You know?
I completely agree.
Yeah, I don't know.
The mind is a wonderful thing.
So that was me right after the run. And then initially I was thinking, like, I was reflecting, and I was like, 21.1 is the goal. What if the goal was higher? And so, like I said, like our body and minds are amazing. And that's only said, like the mind is like, you know, like brilliant. And this is like, it's a really interesting thing to think about. Like just how far and how amazing our minds are and our bodies are, that we can set ourselves something and actually exceed expectations, and how we, even those expectations as big goals that we set ourselves, are a limit in comparison to what is like possible. There are two really final thoughts that I want to share with you. And the first one is that like setting a big goal can really impact your confidence. And I think everyone should set themselves big goals, especially if you feel like you're in a little bit of a lull. I felt like I was in a lull for like 2-3 years, and I feel like I hadn't achieved something like really big. And I think for me, like my character, I feel like if I can see it physically, now if I can do something physically, then it's almost like through my body, I can convince my mind that I can do well. And so if that is the case for you, then setting yourself like a fitness goal is would be extremely helpful. For some other people, it might be like a mental goal, like a coding competition or something, or like a coding comp. Is it a coding comp? A case study? I don't know. Whatever those things are. Like it's those type of things, or like applying for like one of your favorite jobs and trying to get through as many rounds of interviews and hopefully get to the end, right? Like these are like big goals that we set ourselves, right? And so it's really important that I think that you should have like a big goal that you can set ourselves, that you can set yourself, because then it means that you got something like a crutch for your confidence that you can ride on and move forward and power through life and feel like you are achieving meaning, purpose, and you are successful. It is very easy in this world to feel sad, down, that you cannot do anything. And like, I don't want you to feel like that. Like you could go about it in two ways. Like you could like, you know, be soft and be quiet and like, you know, like be very gentle with yourself and like feel the emotions and, you know, write and, you know, deal with your mind in that sort of way. And like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Or you could go out there and achieve something. You can go out there and do well and convince yourself, like manifest something in the real world so that you can convince your mind that you can do well and that you can achieve and you can be successful. And let that be your crutch for your confidence so you can move forward through life with meaning, purpose, inspiration, that you can do well. Like it is, like that is possible. Like that is so possible for you. There's many different ways, like there's many different antidotes to apathy, laziness, sadness, and all the other mental health stuff that's out there. Many antidotes. And I think for me, this was one that was like extremely impactful. In fact, the last thing I want to share with you is that like running in particular taught me how to endure pain. Like, if you can endure pain, then it means that you can endure pain in any realm as well. Like, when I'd run, there were times when like my legs were like in so much pain, my calves, my like quads, it was like my muscles were like really tired, and I almost wanted to give up. But like after putting one foot in front of the other, it was like, man, I can, like at the end of this, like the pain stops, like it finishes. Like your sadness, your anxiety, right? Like everything, right? Every sort of form of pain, physical or mental, has an end at some point. And I think that's what was really important to me. Because on that half marathon, it was like, I can endure all this and end up on top. What an amazing perspective, like, on life. You can endure so much, but end up on top and win and do well. Challenges, like life throws us challenges all the time, whether it be physical, whether it be mental, right? And it's like emotional, like all the time. All the time life will throw us challenges, but it's about how we approach it and whether or not we're willing to very often go through the pain and see what's on the other side. It's time that we stop running away. It's time that we stop remaining complacent and accepting and being average in our life. It's time that we start moving forward. So yeah, there's a lot of reflections. It took me a while to make this video because I was like, what do I want to say? And like, because I didn't want to make this just about like running and what I did. I wanted to make this about goals and doing well and confidence, because that's what's important. The run isn't itself important. It's about how the mind acted and reacted throughout it. And what's the difference between who I am now and who I am after? And I feel like I'm on a roll now. Like me and Sunny, we were talking with each other after, like at the gym, like a few days ago again. And we're on the treadmill again. And I was like, crap, this guy better not like get us to set ourselves another goal. And like we didn't. But we're thinking about it now where it's like we felt like the physical side of things, like the physical aspect of our life, that's where we feel like we might be the least driven in the future. And so we want to make sure like those challenges that we do very often are physical, because we're driven in other areas of our life. But what's really interesting for me was that this physical challenge managed to make me driven in all these other areas of my life. So, and it's just amazing how like something physical, like a physical goal, can make you feel like that. And so I'm very conscious when I say this, but run. Just run. There is something about running that like you can you almost like have an out of body experience, and like the feet are just moving one after the other. And run without music, that's another level. Like running without music is something completely different, because then you're asking your mind and your body to be in harmony. And it's like, that is, if anything, I feel like for me, that was a different level of happiness. But yeah, anyway, something to think about. Now this is just me just rambling on now. Anyway, I hope that you found this video helpful in some form or fashion. And I do wish you all the best in your goals. Let me know what they are. Reach out, tell them to me. I love hearing all the things that you like doing and you want to do well. Like, I am very, very proud of people. Like I don't think jealousy for me comes very easily, because I love it when people do well. It makes me feel inspired. I'm like, wow, like this is so cool. So yeah, please let me know what it is that you're up to, what it is that you're achieving, and I can't wait to hear from you. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.